Part 3 of Pocahontas. By spring, the Indians themselves had little food left and were hungry and cross. Then John Smith came sailing again for the third time. He threatened and thundered that his people must have corn, and he would not take no for an answer. This made Powhatan so angry that he decided to make an end to John Smith and his men. But the cunning old chief hid his wrath and calmly told the Englishmen to spend the night in a house off in the woods. He planned to come with his braves and do away with them while they slept. But once more Pocahontas saved John Smith's life. She did not want to take sides against her father, but she could not let him kill her white friend. She wept and wrung her hands and did not know what to do. But in the dark of the night she slipped quietly through the woods and warned John Smith not to go to sleep. He wanted to reward her with pretty beads, but with tears in her eyes, she refused. John Smith and his men got away safely. But after that, there were no more signs of friendship between the red men and the white men. They fought and took from each other whatever they could. Pocahontas was not allowed to go to Jamestown to see John Smith any more. Later, she heard that he was hurt when his gunpowder blew up. Dying or dead, he had been carried aboard a ship that sailed for England. Here's Pocahontas. She's sad. A few years passed, and Pocahontas grew into a beautiful maiden. She had many suitors, but she turned them all down, and her father was not pleased with her. One day he sent her on an errand to a village far away. There she was the guest of the village chief and his wife. They were ugly and cruel people. An English sea captain sailed a ship up to the village. When he saw Pocahontas there, he thought, "I'll kidnap her. In exchange for her, Powhatan will be sure to give us back all that he has taken from us." So he promised the village chief and his wife a shiny copper kettle if they would help him. The wife made a fuss and pretended she would never be happy again if she could not go aboard the ship. But her husband would not take her unless Pocahontas went with her. Pocahontas did not want to go, but the wife carried on till Pocahontas came with her. Then the captain used sweet words and lured Pocahontas to the gunroom to show her where the thunder was made. While she was there, the chief and his wife grabbed the copper kettle and hurriedly paddled off without her. Pocahontas wept and begged to be put ashore, but to no avail. The sea captain pulled up his anchor, hoisted his sail, and took her away to Jamestown. Thus was the Princess Pocahontas sold for a copper kettle. In Jamestown, her friends were kind to her and did what they could to cheer her up while they waited for her father to buy her free. But Powhatan fooled them. He would give back to the Englishmen only half of what they asked for his daughter. And here's the cruel and ugly chief and his wife going away with the copper kettle. And there's the boat that Pocahontas was a prisoner on. Among her friends in Jamestown, there was a young man whose name was John Rolfe. He grew so fond of her that he felt he could not live without her. While she sat there and wept and sorrowed that her father would not buy her back, John Rolfe came to her and said he would give her all that he had in the world and always be kind to her if she would marry him. Yes, maybe someday he would even take her to England. She gave him her hand and vowed to marry him if her father said yes. That he did. So Pocahontas was christened and named Rebecca, for she must also have a Christian name. Then they had the wedding in Jamestown and made merry and feasted for many days. Powhatan did not come to her wedding, for never would the mighty chief set foot in the white men's village, but many of her friends and relatives came. Both the Indians and the English were pleased with the wedding. They hoped that with Powhatan's dearest daughter married to an Englishman, there would be no more wars between the white and the red men in Powhatan's land. When some time passed, Pocahontas had a little boy child. He was pinker than a white child and paler than an Indian child. The Indians said, "Oh, he will be darker when he grows up." The white people said, "Oh, he will be fairer when he grows up." But to Pocahontas, he was the most beautiful child in the whole world. Here they are getting married over here. It was told about in England that one of the Jamestown settlers had married an Indian princess. Everyone who heard about her wanted to see what she looked like. Soon it was decided that John Rolfe should take his family to England for a visit. Oh, how happy Pocahontas was. Now she would see for herself the wondrous things that John Smith had told her about. Powhatan, too, was pleased, for he would like to find out how mighty England really was and what kind of man his royal brother, the King of England, might be. He sent one of his most trusted braves with his daughter, for he thought that 4 eyes would see more than 2. So Pocahontas and her family and train of attendants sailed off across the great waters. They sailed for days, and they sailed for weeks, and they sailed for months. At last they came to an English port. As soon as they landed, Powhatan's trusted brave started to notch away on a stick he had brought with him. For Powhatan had given him a sheaf of sticks and told him to make a notch for every Englishman he saw, so he would know how many men the King of England had. The Indian notched and notched, but the faster he notched, the more people popped up. It was the deuce how many men there were in England.